Welcome to Sit Down Stand Up with John Malkin, the show where comedy meets conversation. Get ready for a ride full of laughs, stories from the stage, and possibly a few surprises. And now, here's your host, John Malkin.
And we are on the air. I guess it's not really the air. Well, it is radio. We're live. Hello, everyone who's listening. We got a really, really special show today. We got an incredibly hysterical guest on the show, Fat Jay from Long Island, New York. How are you, brother?
I am good, sir. How are you?
Oh, my God. It's so good to have you. You and I have a mutual friend together, Cara Amore. And Amore, I guess. It's very it's French. And she introduced us. And I got you on the show, and thank you for coming on. And I've been spending a lot of time looking at your material. You are one of the funniest guys I have seen, and I haven't seen you in person yet. I can't wait to see you. But you have an incredible lane, an incredible avenue with your comedy. And let's cut to the chase. It's about being fat.
Yes, sir.
That's your shtick, and you're damn proud of it.
I am.
How long have you been doing this stand-up gig?
7 years.
Okay, so which is a long time for stand-up, but you've refined your craft, and you got up on stage, and I'm gonna make the assumption that you were probably a fat guy back 7 years ago, and you're like, I'm going up there, and I'm just gonna get self-deprecating, and it freaking works.
I came to the conclusion, like, I hit 40 years old, and this is what it is. This is how God made me.
You're not getting any skinnier.
Yeah, I'm not doing the yo-yo diets anymore. Needless to say, 5-6 years later, they have steroids for fat people.
Right.
Ozempic.
Yeah. Are you going to go there? Because that would change your whole shtick.
I'm not going there.
No.
I'm not going to be the Barry Bonds of fat people.
Now, is your goal to maintain your fatness, or do you want to get fatter?
No, I'm good. Whatever.
Good.
I fluctuate up and down.
Okay.
Who cares?
But it's really good. I mean, there's some, comedy is a weird animal, right? Because a lot of comics are, a lot of it's about self-deprecation. But people who make fun of themselves, some people make fun of their color, some make fun of their religions, all that. And then, there are those who make fun of their weight and all that. But I've seen a bunch of people make fun of their weight being fat and all that, and it's entertaining and all that. But you get really specific and broad at the same time and very visual. And you have this very endearing delivery to your comedy. You're not just telling jokes, you're actually making people live like they're a fat person. I mean, it's really good.
That's what they say. You got to paint the picture, You
paint the picture.
And my stories they're true stories.
Right.
My nephew's an 8-year-old, He gets a kick after they call me Fat Jay. So he's like, Uncle Fat Jay, We talk about going to the amusement park. He means no harm because kids say the darndest things,
Right.
But it's true stories, and yeah.
So when you're introducing yourselves to people, are you just come out and say, "My name is Fat Jay"? That's your moniker. Yep. I love it.
And now, like, I do a new bit. I don't know if it was any of the clips that I stand up here tonight because I'm the child of drug addicts. I didn't get molested like the other comedians you see on Netflix. That my aunt's an old school 70-year-old Italian woman. She's at a show one night.
Right.
I'm like, I didn't get molested. She yells out from the back, because you were fat and smelled like bologna. The whole crowd goes nuts. And I'm just laughing hysterically myself.
Oh my God, that's great.
And I'm like, yeah, that's my aunt,
I'm glad she told the reason why you did not get molested. Now your siblings and all that, they all got molested, but because you were fat and smelled like bologna.
I had no siblings, so it was all me,
So it was all you. That's too funny. Now, do you come from a big family?
No. It was...
Which is unusual for an Italian family from Long Island, right?
Yeah, my mother and my aunt were my grandmother's kids. My grandfather wasn't my real grandfather.
Okay.
But he was around when my mother was 3.
Okay.
So he had kids prior to, so there's some of us. But The only ones left are my aunt and my 2 cousins.
God, all right,
And
it's a
then I
small
have
family.
2 nieces and 2 nephews.
Fantastic. Now, some of the things that you joke about, which is really funny, and you write about in your bio, you joke about exploring your favorite foods. So tell me a little bit about that, because I mean, from a fat guy talking about food and all that must be a lot of fun to talk about, because I guess that's what drives you and all that. How do you explore your favorite foods on stage?
The family always came together around food.
Right.
And that's what my life is, pizza joints. I talk about going to the pizzeria, and without a doubt, it's next to a school at 2:30 on a Friday afternoon.
Right.
Bump into 8 million kids. One little kid, oh my God, how fat is that guy?
That's right.
And I'm not gonna let it go by. So I have to answer him back. And then we get into a little pee-pee match in the middle of the street. I'm this fat because your mom feeds me cake and cookies after I bang her. And then there's other kids like, I always knew about your mother. He uses the WH word that the Italians have like a different word accent for.
Right.
I know we're on the radio. I don't know what's allowed and what's not.
Let her ride.
I'm like, and then this kid yells out, I always knew your mother was a hooer. And now all the kids are on my side and love me,
That's too funny. Now, did you have a rough childhood growing up? I mean, were you picked on as a fat kid, or did that?
Yeah.
You did. You were. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, do you use some of that to help drive your comedy? Because because there's probably just a lot of stories from your childhood that you're kind of bringing in through your comedy.
Yeah, and the Lord's blessed me. I have a super hot girlfriend who's
nice,
absolutely insane.
Love it.
So I'm comfortable in my obesity, and as a kid we were made fun of, and then all of a sudden here came Biggie Smalls, fat, black, and ugly as ever.
Right.
And I was like, wow, like that was an enlightenment in my life.
Interesting.
And I just didn't care at that point after that.
That's good for you.
And then we had Big Pun.
Yeah.
So music was a big influence on my life.
Right.
And I adapted to that type of, street type stuff.
Yeah.
Hanging out in the wrong neighborhoods with the wrong people.
Yeah.
But they were good people to me. And it was what I was used to because my mother was a drug addict. Like, that's real life.
Is that right? Is your mother still around?
No, she's not.
She passed. Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have a bunch of family that comes to see you perform?
Yeah, my family always comes out and supports me.
That's great.
My grandparents actually had 2 kids that they gave up for adoption. One of them is local. The other one lives in Arizona.
Wow.
So my other aunt comes. My cousin was just at my show.
Fantastic.
And the first thing she asked me after the show was like, that true that Aunt Esther actually yelled that out? And I'm like, oh, yeah.
So what you're telling on stage, you're not fabricating.
No, it's real life.
It's fabricating.
Yep.
You're nailing it down. That's really good.
Absolutely.
That's fantastic. Some of the other things that you talk about, which I love that you tell the story about navigating Six Flags Safari adventures. I saw that in your bio. I'm like, I read that and I just started laughing because it just sounds hysterical.
My friends, they like to do skinny people stuff.
Okay.
Go to the amusement park. I don't know why I said yes. And next thing you know, we're driving through the safari. And this was back when the animals could come up to the car. Right. There's 12 monkeys humping the car. A giraffe has his head in the window with his head in my Doritos bag. And I'm just stoned out of my face. Like, what is happening right now? So I just tell that story.
Do you think you were hallucinating at that? Or
I'm like, I can't believe this is real life. And they're just laughing hysterical because I'm like fighting with the giraffe not to take my Doritos. And then, fat guys have front butts. I call it like a built-in fanny pack.
Right.
I get on one ride, and my friend, just such a pansy, he's like, it's not locked. It's not locked. I'm like, we don't go upside down. Just shut up. Next thing you know, the park attendant's stepping on it until it locks. I had a black and blue on my front butt for 7 weeks.
Because you were just wedging it in.
Oh, torture.
That's so funny.
Flipping ain't easy though.
That's so funny, man. That's a great story. Can I tell you? It's so funny how you say that. And you should be proud. You're very proud of your smoking hot girlfriend. Which how did you meet your smoking hot girlfriend? Did you? Can I say that maybe you met her at a comedy club because she probably saw you and said, "This guy is," because a lot of women like funny people. That's how I met my wife. My wife thought I was just funny. That was it. I was like, okay, I'll see if I can stay funny for the rest of our lives. But is that is that an attribute that you brought?
She went to school with my younger cousin.
Oh, okay.
And we just bumped into each other, and here we are.
Here you are. Any plans to consummate?
She doesn't want to get married. We have no kids. We have a dog.
All right. No plans to get married, huh? That's it.
No.
Okay. And you're happy with that. She's happy with it. This is 2024. We don't need to get married anymore.
Yeah, we're gonna have instead of a wedding, we're gonna have a big 40th birthday bash for her.
Okay.
Let her feel like a queen for a day.
Nice, just for a day,
all that
though.
Good stuff.
Not too long, just for a day.
Yeah, you can't.
Don't take it out longer. Yeah. You also talk about, one of the things you talk about is the decoding the antics of Little League parents. And I've seen some great bits on Little League parents, and parents a lot of people do funny stuff on dance parents and things like that. But what do you talk about when you talk about Little League parents? Because that's just a great
I talk about my nephew getting picked to play travel Little League.
Okay.
And I just tell him what travel Little League is. You bring your kid to a field, 4 fat guys that had an Al Bundy moment, run that kid through the NFL combine.
Right.
And no matter how good or bad that kid is, you got 3,500, he's playing ball.
That's right.
Obviously, my nephew is one of the good ones.
Right.
Because if you couldn't tell, athletes run our family.
Right.
Now, I have no kids, so going to a game is torture.
Right.
So I smoke a lot of pot on the way to the game.
Not at the game, but on the way
something
to the game.
to take the pain away, you know?
Right.
Because who wants to watch your nephew stand in center field, giving the middle finger to the left and right fielder like no one could tell? Now these Little League moms are pretentious. The parking lot's filled with Range Rovers and Escalades.
Of course.
Now they don't sit on the bleachers. They sit next to them in camping chairs.
Right.
I sit down. Mom starts, I smell weed. Yeah, of course you do, honey. That's me. Shut the fuck up. Well, I'm going to start yelling out that I watched you pour boxed wine into that $90 Stanley cup you're drinking out of. Now, that Little League joke all came about. True story, I went to the game, zooted out of my face.
Right.
And this kid's having a tantrum at home plate after he strikes out. And here comes his dad walking towards me. You could see the tears in his eyes. I'm like, you all right, big fella? He goes, $5,000 to watch that little asshole strike out 4 times a day. And I'm like, I have to write about that.
That's a great story. That probably goes over well. That goes over well because there's a lot of parents there who've been in those shoes,
And they all think that these kids are going to be like the next Jeter or Aaron Judge.
Right.
Like my aunt. Oh, I got to go watch my grandson. We're grooming him. Grooming him for what?
Right.
Your son's a chubby goddamn steam fitter from Call Place.
Right.
You're not birthing the next Aaron Judge in 10 years. Get over yourself.
That's too funny. I actually do. I do a bit. I have girls, right? So I didn't do the Lily thing. But it's so funny because a lot of my friends have boys. And first of all, I grew up with brothers, so I was so glad when my wife and I had 2 girls and all that, because I didn't want boys in the house because I saw what I lived in. But my friends, they're basically the entire, for 15 years, every weekend went to travel baseball or lacrosse or hockey. I'm like, oh my God, thank God my girls got into dance, so I went to 1 dance recital a year. It was torture. I loved watching my girls dance, but I didn't want to watch other people's kids dance. But I didn't feel anything, but that would have been horrific to have to do that every weekend in the summer.
And the best part was I did the Orlando Comedy Festival last year.
Yeah.
And I guess they do a lot of tournaments and stuff there.
Yes, absolutely.
So it was a baseball tournament and cheerleading. You had to see the guys. I was sitting outside the hotel smoking joints like a gentleman, watching the people. And the guy, you could just see, like, the wives gave them the directions, the itinerary.
Right.
They run to the bar, chug a beer, grab a Starbucks. So you just drank a beer without the wife knowing. Now you're walking out with a Starbucks.
With a
and
latte.
you have two, one for her, one for you. Just so she doesn't yell at you like a little schoolgirl like
Right.
your mother used to.
That's so funny. That's so funny. And I'm sure there's probably not a parent there going, I smell beer.
Uh-huh.
That's too funny. By the way, you are listening to Sit Down, Stand Up with John Malkin. I have Fat Jay on. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me at John Malkin Live. And where can people find Fat Jay? I'm assuming you're on what we call social media. I've heard of it.
I am. Fat Jay's World on Instagram.
Fat Jay's World.
Fat Jay Comedy on Facebook.
Great.
And Jay Christopher on Facebook as well.
Fantastic. And you play a lot. You play all over. It sounds like you're playing some festivals, which is so cool. But you're also playing a lot over Long Island. Some of the clubs. You're like a regular at the Governor's Comedy Club.
I am. Thank God. Knock on wood.
That's fantastic. And where else do you play? You got some shows coming up. I'd love to tell our listeners where they can find this incredible comedy.
I'll be at Governor's this weekend and the weekend after. You can follow me for all my show dates. I post them. And I've been traveling. I just was in Myrtle Beach, Indiana, and Ohio.
Really? We're in Indiana. I went to school in Indiana.
I went to the Great Lakes area.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember the town
That's
off
okay.
the top of my head.
All right. Well, you're up in northern Indiana then.
Yes, and what a great time.
Yeah.
It was weird because it was like snowing the night of the show.
Oh, nice.
The next morning, it was 76 degrees.
Welcome to the Midwest.
And it was driving out there. I was 10 hours in with 2.5 hours away from the hotel.
Right.
I hit a fog.
Oh, man.
That
which is
I
dangerous.
couldn't see.
Yeah. Because you got trucks who don't give a crap.
Oh, my God. Those trucks were doing 90.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm like, should I follow them? And
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to live my dream. I don't want to die doing it.
Yeah, you don't
like,
want to die
let me
living
go
the dream.
get a hotel over here, and we'll make it the rest of the way tomorrow.
Oh, that's well, now the crowds. I imagine because you're when you get to the Indiana, and believe me, there's a lot of fat people in Indiana. I mean,
Yeah.
you probably felt right at home.
They loved me.
I'm
I sold
sure.
a lot of Blimpin' Ain't Easy shirts.
I love it.
And I'm hoping to go back.
I love it. And your slogan is called "Blimpin' Ain't Easy,"
Yes, I used to do Fat Lives Matter.
which is fantastic. Now, did you get some heat for Fat Lives Matter?
I didn't, but I was still new,
Yeah.
and I didn't want to catch heat
Right.
because I want to be lovable.
Yeah.
I'm not
you are
trying to-
lovable. Look at you.
You know, I'm not trying to be that asshole.
Right.
So during the pandemic, I was like, listen, I have this idea. Instead of pimping ain't easy, blimping ain't easy.
I love it.
And people were like, that's hysterical. It's tattooed. I have it tattooed.
Oh, you go. There you go. When'd you get that
I'm all
tattoo?
in.
When'd you get that done?
About 1.5 years ago.
So that's fresh ink.
Yeah, a fellow comedian who owns Black Duck Tattoo on Long Island, Rob White, he did that.
It's great work. That's great work.
Yeah.
Well, we were talking before the show started, and I'm just going to lay it out. Jim Gaffigan opened up for you.
Yeah, that's so not true. Kind of, sort of, but really not.
Tell the story, because it's a great story. You just played a club in New York City, and go ahead. Take it from me.
So I was doing a show at Gotham. It was a new talent night.
Right.
And, of course, you know, special guest Jim Gaffigan's here. I'm like, oh, great.
So they didn't announce it before. I mean, it was kind of people in the club.
Yeah, just the comedians knew.
Okay.
And then I'm about to go up. They're like, oh, Jay, he's going to go up now. So Jim Gaffigan's not going to do 6 minutes.
No,
You
of course
know?
No. He's going to do
So
a
he does
mini
like
Netflix
25.
special. Yeah.
And kills.
Of course.
I didn't even listen because I'm like, I can't believe this is happening.
Right.
And I did okay. It took me a minute to get him, but I got him. They loved me.
I'm sure.
And that night, DJ LeMahieu from the Yankees,
Yeah.
his mom was in the audience.
Oh, so did you riff on her at all or no?
No, because she had come to see someone else.
Okay.
And she was like, please don't make an announcement because then
Right.
people would swarm her.
Right.
Which was good because she talked to us for like 15 minutes after the show.
That's so cool. Did you get a chance to meet Jim Gaffigan?
Briefly.
Okay. Was he?
He wanted no part of me.
What?
And I had texted my friend Carrie Carabas, like, can I tell you Gaffigan's doing 20 before me?
Oh my God.
She goes, just go say Carrie Carabas says hello. So I'm like, hey sir, how you doing? And he was like brushing me off, ready to run away. I'm like,
Really?
my good friend Carrie Carabas says hello. Stop dead in his tracks. How do you know Carrie?
Oh my gosh.
So
that's fantastic. So he was
cool.
here trying out probably new material, I would imagine. That's what they do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And probably going downstairs and killing for an hour,
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, he's from Indiana.
Is he?
Yeah, he grew up in Indiana.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So, well, there you go. You could have said, hey, I almost got killed by a truck on my way to Indiana. I love your state. That's
the Hoosier state.
I went to Indiana University, man. I live with those people. And I'm a Jewish guy. And I went there back in the early 80s, and a lot of people where I went to school had never had ever met or seen a Jew. They literally thought that like we had horns. And I had my roommate. His nickname was Fro because he had an afro, and he made mirrors in the summer. He worked in a glass and made beer mirrors. So he showed up, and I'm a freshman, right? And I'm in this dorm room, and I'm there early, and I'm just looking. I know nobody, and Fro walks in, and he's a sophomore, right? So he's a year ahead of me. He starts laying out about 400 beer mirrors on the wall. I'm like, all right, I could get to know Fro. Yeah, it was actually, yeah. And then a few months in, he found out I was Jewish, and it took him like 20 minutes to go, oh my God, I never met one of you before. I'm like, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's it. I'm honored. I'm honored to be your first Jew that you met and all that.
Every time I went to a gas station or something, they're like, can you say how you doing? And I'm like, hey, how you doing? They're like, oh, we love that. Some guy was just talking to me like, hey, I love when you New Yorkers come in.
Yeah. Well, because they just want to hear your accent.
Yeah, they automatically think we're from like Syracuse or something. Are you from Syracuse? I'm like, no, Long Island.
They wouldn't say New York City. They go Syracuse.
Yeah, you from Syracuse? Nah.
Why Syracuse of all the?
I don't know. I think because of the college.
You're right. You know Jim Boheim.
Yep.
That's so funny. Well, you are just entertaining. So, if you get a chance, first of all, go to Fat J's social media and find out where this guy's playing. I can't wait to come see you live because I was watching some of your clips, and I was freaking dying, man. You are so freaking funny, but just a humble funny. That's what's so great about your comedy. I mean,
Appreciate
you deliver the fat jokes and all that, but there's such a endearness, because I'm going to say that word. I don't even know if it exists. Endearing virtue to you that is really fun to watch.
Thank you, sir.
And I imagine
do you have Ralph's Ices by you guys?
Ralph's Ices. Is that a terrorist group? I've never.
No, it's Italian Ices.
Oh, ISIS, not ISIS. Okay.
Yeah.
That's like a new spin-off of ISIS. No, do we have it up? We do. Yes, my producer Jackson says we have it.
I'm actually trying to get Ralph's to sponsor me.
Why is that? I mean, because you love them?
My opening joke is about Long Island's biggest drug dealer. If it's the winter, I'm the most miserable fat guy you've ever seen because Long Island's biggest drug dealer is closed. If it's summer, I'm the happiest fat guy because Long Island's biggest drug dealer is open. Ralph's Italian Ice. And I have a couple of videos that one of them was like local viral, had like 40,000 views.
That's great.
And one of the Ralphs, they're franchised.
Right.
They own 3.
Right.
She just forwarded, and the husband forwarded my info to the owners.
Are they receptive?
So, I'm hoping.
Oh my God, you'd wear that shirt all day long.
Absolutely.
You'd get the ink.
Absolutely. I just want a sponsor to say I have one,
Absolutely, yeah. And
Here's Fat J, sponsored by Ralph's Italian Ices.
That's right.
It just works.
And please do me a favor on your social media, just say Jim Gaffigan open for you, and just tag Jim Gaffigan.
I can't do that because there's people as you know, in the comedy world,
Yes.
that are delusional,
I know.
complete nutbags, and I call it the sickness.
Yes.
So I would be classified as president of the sickness, and I would be chastised.
Yeah, I guess people in our trade are a little temperamental. I'll give you that.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you that. Well, I just got you and I were talking about this, but I got an opportunity to go out and play Governors. It's a little bit, and I do want to take the time to get over to Long Island and play some clubs because our mutual friend Kara plays out in Long Island as well. And I play mostly Manhattan clubs, and I got a show. I'm also playing a great club, which I think you do really well, is a Stress Factory up in Bridgeport.
Oh, I would love to get in there.
Oh my God! Yeah, I know that. I know people. I know people there. I'd love to get you up there, man, because you would crush it.
My nephew he went to UConn, and he lives right around there. So he's dying to get his gym friends to come see me.
Okay.
Because my nephew is a power lifter and one of those bodybuilder.
Yep.
So he wants his friends to come see me because we're exact opposites, you know.
Right. I love it.
I'd love to perform there.
Okay.
I'd come for free.
Oh, wow. All right. Even better. I'm sure the folks at Stress Factory, well, I would love to share a stage with you, man. I'd want to go on.
Absolutely. Me too.
Can I open for you as well one day? And just so you could put that on your resume?
If one day, please, I would hope. But if you want, talk to Charlie. Come down to Govs. I'd love to meet you.
I'd love that. I'd love
Come
that.
with Kara. She does shows for him.
Yeah.
And I'll talk to you outside. I have another gentleman that does shows in the Giggle Room. I can get you on his show.
I'd love to do that. I'd love to. Kara and I are actually sharing a stage on June 25th at the Stress Factory in Bridgeport. I'm really excited. She was on my show a few weeks ago. And I'm really excited to share the stage with her. She is a funny lady.
Yes.
She's got some funny stories to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah.
And once we met, we hit it off because I kind of went through the same type of stuff, you know?
Yeah. And you guys this is fun. You guys actually had a cooking show together.
Yes.
And tell me about that. That's a great story.
Me and Kara met during the pandemic. I'm like, hey, I wanted to do a podcast or some sort of cooking show. I have a great name. She's like, I went to cooking school. I'm like, me too. Mr. Jenkins was my teacher. She's like, that was my teacher.
No.
20 years apart, like crazy,
Too funny.
And she's like, let's do it. And I'm like, I got the perfect name. She goes, what is it? I'm like, Chewing the Fat.
Ah, yes.
She's like, yeah, that's great. Let's do it. So we did some cooking shows, and then the pandemic ended, and everyone went back to work.
Now, how did someone meet someone? Because you could people have done like 13 years of hard labor for saying they met someone during the pandemic. How did you meet Kara how does one meet during a pandemic?
A fellow comedian had us in their backyard, 6 feet apart from each other, hanging out.
Yeah.
And she was there, I was there.
I love it.
She's like, hey, what do you do? I'm like, they call me Fat Jay. And she's like, I love that.
I love it.
And we were and she's like my aunt. She is literally like my aunt. Same type of personality. Doesn't give a shit. Says whatever. And just live life,
She's the greatest. She's greatest.
And her father was like my grandfather.
Right.
They said frankfurters instead of hot dogs.
I love it. That's too funny. That's too funny, man. Well, Fat Jay, at the end of each of my shows, I do this little bit called Repeat Offenders, and I ask you basically my guests a few questions, and the first thing that comes, they're like stupid, inane questions that I somehow come up with, and I'm not even stoned when I do it, so I don't know how to come up with this stuff, but I'm just going to throw like a few questions. So the first thing that comes to your mind, and just lay it on the line, all right?
All right.
All right, Repeat Offenders with Fat Jay. If animals could talk, which one would be the most annoying?
Chicken.
Of course. Absolutely. If you had to communicate by only using one sound, what sound would it be?
Fat and lazy.
That's fat and lazy. Oh, man. All right, last question for Fat Jay. If you could only eat one color of food for the rest of your life, what color would you choose?
Red.
Of course, red meat.
Yes.
That's a layup, man. Well, Fat Jay, I cannot thank you enough for coming on the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me, sir.
What a pleasure meeting you. And the beauty about comedy, and I've been doing stand-up. You've been doing it for 7 years. I've been doing it for a little over 2. The community is they're just amazing people.
You meet a lot of good ones.
Yeah.
You meet some weird ones.
Oh,
some
yeah.
idiots.
Yes.
Don't let them dissuade you.
No.
Or live your dream, man, and have
Living
fun.
the dream. I'm having fun, and I'm having fun with it. I look forward to sharing the stage with you one day, my friend, Fat Jay.
Yes, me too.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
And this has been another phenomenal show of Sit Down, Stand Up with John Malkin. And like I say every week, we are out of here.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Sit Down, Stand Up with John Malkin. Make sure to follow John on social media at John Malkin Live. See you next time, and don't forget to think while you laugh.